On your screens, we can see several buses carrying prisoners released by Israel in exchange for hostages freed today by Hamas arriving in the Gazan city of Khan Yunis, according to AFP journalists. Thousands of people have gathered to welcome the prisoners, cheering and waving Palestinian as well as Hamas flags in celebration. Now for this discussion, we are joined by David K. Johnson. He's an American author, joins us live from New York. Thank you very much, David, for joining us today. Good to see you. David, now how significant is U.S.'s role, particularly in President Trump's role, in brokering this peace?
Well, this is clearly a big triumph for Donald Trump. It's not what he promised, which was that he would end the war on day one without even taking office. Nonetheless, a significant victory for him. We should keep in mind, however, that it is not, as he portrayed it to the Knesset, joy and peace and a whole new world. It's the settlement of this particular conflict. The underlying causes of conflict are not going to go away, and there's a great deal of asymmetry here. Trump said almost nothing about Palestinians. The 154 Palestinians who were released and other Palestinians who are still being held for various reasons include children, nurses, doctors, whereas the 20 hostages who are still alive released by Hamas are in good part soldiers from the Israeli Defense Forces. So keeping some balance here and understanding that it is just the nature of Donald Trump that he grossly overstates things. You know, his buildings are always, he says, taller than they actually are. His fortune is not nearly as large as he says. And in this case, this is not the beginning of a new golden era in the Middle East.
Yes, David, you bring us such a good point that it's not, also all the hostages are not back. Some families were demanding or criticizing the fact that the dead bodies of those kept the hostages have not been returned. Can you tell us more about the reality of this?
Well, Hamas said something very revealing a couple of days ago. They suggested they don't know where all the bodies of the dead Israeli hostages are. Exactly what that means is not at all clear. Nonetheless, those who are, according to Hamas, still alive have been turned over and are now back in Israel. But how this other part about the bodies will be resolved, if at all, is one of the many things that
David,
remains
please
open.
hold on for a second. I would like to also add the fact that we are showing the live visuals of not the Trump, but earlier the visuals that were from the helicopter. The hostages are bringing back, and they have landed. The helicopter has landed in Israel, and now the hostages are being taken to the hospitals for their medical checkups in Israel. Now we go back to our guest discussion with David. David, so thank you for staying with us. If you could please continue your answer.
Well, we have not resolved all the issues here, and the status of the bodies of those Israelis who died in captivity is one that isn't fully resolved. But to think that, you know, this is all going to be now peace and love and happiness going forward is just absurd, even though that's the message that Trump is trying to portray, instead of sticking to his significant success here and what it is.
Yes, and also you've earlier mentioned in our in your first answer that, you know, President Trump does talk big, but in his speech in Knesset, we saw him, I may say, throwing the previous administrations, particularly Biden and particularly Obama's administration, under the bus. So how does it compare to past U.S. administrations' involvement in Israel and Gaza situation?
Well, the underlying problems that exist around Jerusalem, about the Palestinian people, the creation of the Israeli state in 1947, the Nakba, all of those go back generations and generations and generations. And previous administrations tried to manage these problems. And that's what you do with a situation like this, where you have intractable positions rooted deeply in the culture of the various forces. But it's Donald's nature to dump on his predecessors. Donald routinely refers to anyone he doesn't like as being stupid or an idiot or corrupt. It's the nature of his character or lack of character that, he's special, he's Superman, and everybody else is an idiot. And he's been this way all the nearly 40 years that I've known and covered Donald, spent many, many hours with him. It's just fundamental to who he is.
And thank you, David, for sharing that. I also want to take back our viewers to these visuals as well. We are showing the live footage of Israeli hostages arriving for their medical checkups in the hospitals. These buses you see in white and with red and green stripe is carrying all the hostages who have been freed from Gaza Strip after being held around 2 years. Now we go back to our guest discussion with, I would like to also add and welcome Ali Muhammad Bushbak. He's an independent Palestinian researcher to our guest discussion alongside David K. Johnson. He's an American author, joins us live from New York. Ali, what more can you tell us about, thank you for joining, Ali, first of all, and what more can you tell us about what's going on in Middle East now, and how is this news covered over there?
Thank you, Osma, for having me. The thing is, it's a memorable day for Palestinian and Israel when the exchange of a prisoner happened today. Around 1,900 plus Palestinian prisoners have been released, and more than 20 plus Israeli captives have been released from Gaza. This is one of significant point for the faith of ceasefire. But I'm not optimist about what Donald Trump, he called it lasting peace in Palestine and Israel. This is not the end phase of the conflict by releasing the captive and exchange the prisoner with Israel. This is the significant point, and we have seen that Benjamin Netanyahu today also, he withdrew, he canceled his meet and his visit to Sharm el-Sheikh. The peace summit has a significant meaning. Why at the last moment, at the nick of time, he canceled his visit to Sharm el-Sheikh, despite it was a principle and it was one of the significant meet for him to sign the deal with Hamas and or with Palestinian Authority, because there is no representative for Hamas in Sharm el-Sheikh. According to media outlets, they said the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is going to sign the deal, and several of President and Prime Minister, they are going to attend the summit for the end and closure this chapter between Gaza and Israel. Despite all the media and the Palestinian on the ground, they have a fear to resume the war by Israel suddenly, like what happened last time. And also there is a several of faggy things, like the remain body. Still Hamas is not releasing the remain body. Around 20 also remain body. It's very difficult for them to identify the place of the remain body, which also has a limitation time. According to Donald Trump, point 72 hours should be released all the captive and also the remain bodies of the Israelis. This is a big and a huge challenge. And in case Hamas delay, what will happen and what is the future of the civilians who return to devastated Gaza and who return to ruined Gaza without a shelter? But on the ground, Palestinian in Gaza, they are celebrating, receiving their loved one, and they are, I mean, optimist, not that much, but they have a celebration and happiness with regard around with the, I mean, after 2 years of conflict and war, after 2 years of uh, hiding their loved one in Israeli jail under the dehumanizing condition and under torturing them. According to several of media reports, they are showing how much Israel dehumanizing the Palestinians, especially Gazans, prisoner in Israeli jail. So the situation on the ground up to now, it's not optimist atmosphere, and there is no prospect about and guarantee about Benjamin Netanyahu, despite Donald Trump. He confirmed the war has been ended, and he said the war end 3 times. But also, this is not a confirmation about what will happen. Is the future of Gaza will be parallel to Lebanon, like what is happening? Israel doesn't withdraw from 5 points, have been decided in agreement with Hezbollah to withdraw, and continuously daily bombardment in south Lebanon. So this is what will happen in Gaza or no, and this the future is still. I talked to several of people who flee and displaced from Gaza Strip, and who came to Egypt or other countries to flee the war. I asked them, "Are you ready to return to Gaza in case the border is going to reopen?" According to media, on Thursday, it's going to the border between Egypt and Gaza. It's going to reopen for both way for who's going, who has a willingness
Yes.
to go in Gaza or return or to leave Gaza.
Ali,
Most of them,
Ali, thank you for
yes.
sharing that. Please hold on as we go back to our guests for the discussion, Ali. And to our viewers, on your screens, we can see several buses carrying the prisoners released by Israel in exchange for hostages. Freed today by Hamas, they have already arrived in Gaza city of Khan Yunis, and Israeli prison services have said that 1,968 Palestinian prisoners have been transferred. The Israeli Prison Service has said that it has transferred 1,968 Palestinian prisoners as part of the ceasefire deal from Israeli detention. Now, prisoners were in two groups. One was transferred from other prison to other parts of the occupied West Bank. The second group was transferred from KT Zayat prison to Kerem Shalom in southern Israel, one of the border crossings into Gaza. Now, the prisoners were escorted by Israeli prison officers, assisted by police, it says in a statement, according to them. Now we go back to our guest discussion with David K. Johnson and Ali Muhammad Bushbak. Ali, I would like to go back to you if you could continue where you left off. Thank you for staying with us.
The thing is, I talked to several of civilians from Gaza if they are going to return to Gaza Strip or no. Most of them, they said it's not clear the future of Gaza in case Benjamin Netanyahu is going to return the war and resume it. There is no confirmation, there is no guarantee. Last ceasefire between Hamas and Israel, the mediator, they confirmed Hamas, there is a guarantee Israel is not going back to the war. And we have seen many speech for Benjamin Netanyahu that Hamas didn't respond and they didn't accept the deal without the military pressure. But let me here mention that Israel Hayom, the Israeli newspaper, they confirm about explain about the cancel of visit Benjamin Netanyahu to Sharm el-Sheikh. There is a several of prisoner and elite leader in this summit. They rejected his attending and visit to Sharm el-Sheikh and attend this peace summit. And especially Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president of Turkey, he said that the plan of Benjamin Netanyahu is not going to cross the airspace for them if in case he's going to visit Sharm el-Sheikh to attend the peace summit in Sharm el-Sheikh today. The thing says also, Osama, one of the Israelis soldier, prisoner or captive, sorry, who released Israel media, they confirmed that he was in special forces and he was in Gaza, held by Hamas for more than 2 years. That has also disappointed the Israelis community, that one of the Israeli special forces, how Hamas could be captivating and hiding him during the 7th of October and for more than 2 years. Also, the Palestinian prisoner now also
Yes.
they are in the Nasser hospital for check-up. As I mentioned, among of the celebration of the civilians, Palestinian, they are whistling and they are chanting for the Palestinian resistance, and they are so happy for this agreement, and they consider it one of the historical day for them after the ceasefire. They are not, as I mentioned, they are more happy for this ceasefire and for the rest after 2 years more than anything. And as I mentioned today morning in your broadcast, civilians now they are talking about the future of ceasefire more than restructured for rebuilding and restructured Gaza.
Yes.
More than anything, they are more they are looking for security more than home and more than a shelter for them
Yes.
after 2 years without sleep, without a breath, without food, without water. They are
Yes.
more asking about the security now. Palestinians, they recognize, I understand in Gaza what does it mean, the security, what does it mean to be in peace environment. So I guess things it's escalated, and I hope it will work, but we are adopting the theater of Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump to manipulating the international community and lying on to the international community that we reach to the agreement, we reach to ceasefire, then suddenly Israel going to return the war under the funding of Donald Trump and the Western country.
Thank you, Ali, for giving us all the updates. I also want to let my viewers know that Palestinian prisoners have now begun receiving medical care in Gaza, according to Hamas officials. Now, I would like to ask a question from our guest, David. Thank you, David, for staying with us. Despite this high-profile involvement of President Trump, he did not receive the anticipated Nobel Peace Prize. How do you think, how would he carry on with the fact that he did not get it, and how could it affect his standing among his supporters and critics? What do you think?
Well, nobody has ever campaigned to get the Nobel Peace Prize. It's not one of those things you campaign for. Trump was literally calling up world leaders and saying, please, please call the people and tell them they should be giving me the Nobel Peace Prize. It's pathetic, to be blunt. Now, Donald's true believer supporters, which are about 20–25% of American adults, they, of course, think he's been horribly mistreated and robbed because he's the greatest president ever, and some of them are openly calling him for him to be dictator for life. In the rest of the world, Donald has diminished himself and the United States with this. The chance he's going to get a Nobel Peace Prize is 0 and none. And keep in mind, I think this is a very important point, that this whole horrible situation that began with a serious misjudgment and error by Hamas in its horrific attack on October 7th, 2 years ago, all of this is part of an ongoing dispute. It is not settled. It is not solved. There is not some golden age. And you can see that in, as Ali pointed out, Netanyahu is not going to Sharm el-Sheikh. There are lots of unresolved issues. What's going to happen to Gaza, which has essentially been turned into a demolition zone, as Donald Trump called it, by the Israeli forces? It's going to cost a huge amount of money to create a decent, livable situation in Gaza. Is the Trump administration going to put money into that? And are they going to put money into it that's humanitarian? Or is it going to be yet another scheme by Donald Trump to profit off the presidency, something specifically prohibited by the Constitution, but that nothing is being done about?
Yes. Thank you very much, David and Ali, for both joining us today and sharing that insight and staying with us throughout this topic. Thank you very much. Now, this is